One of the things my kids always say when something don't go their way is, that's not fair, that's not fair. And honestly, I be want to look at them and be like, baby, life ain't fair. Life is not fair. Because when you keep on living, just keep on living, you're gonna realize that life is not fair. We see it all around us. People struggling without homes, without food to eat, injustice, favoritism, division everywhere. And it hits even harder when you are doing everything right and it feels like you still can't catch a break. Like fairness just still can't find you. If you've ever experienced life being unfair, if you've ever thought, like, why does life keep hitting me in the way that it's been hitting me? Keep on watching, because carrying the weight of life is not fair. It doesn't just drain you, but it steals your joy, it steals your peace, and it steals your hope for tomorrow. Here's what I do know. I do know that an unfair season does not mean that God has abandoned you. Sometimes it's actually just proof that He is preparing you. And learning to trust Him when things don't make no sense, that's when the real breakthrough happens. That's when you're able to see, okay, I'm starting to understand something that I didn't think was possible to understand in the beginning. I'm gonna walk you through 3 shifts that has really helped me to trust God when I personally felt that life has just been completely unfair. But first, let's talk about some reasons why life can be unfair, right? Sometimes you look at people, they may be born into wealth. Other people are born into poverty. You would look at that and say, that's unfair. Good people suffer sickness, they have loss, they have tragedy, while other people who do not so good things, it look like they're thriving. Have you ever seen those people where it's like they're doing every single thing right, and no matter what, they get hit after hit after hit. It seems like they just can't catch a break, whereas the people over here, they may be doing God knows what, the not so good stuff, and yet it seems like they are just thriving, like life is just blooming, flowers all around them. In the natural eyes, you may look at that and like, dang, that's not fair. How are they over here, thriving, and I'm struggling? And then you have this thing called favoritism in life. This is something where you hear growing up that it's not what you know, is who you know. I used to really couldn't understand that, because I'm like, why would it be it's about who I know when I've worked so hard to do a certain thing? Why can't people just look at me for the skills and the talent and the experience that I have and judge me based off of that? But the real reality was that life don't work like that all the time. Sometimes life works on favoritism, connections, nepotism, like the isms, right? And you may look at that and say, but that is unfair. If I am qualified, I should get the job. If I have the experience, I should be the one who they choose or who they pick or whatever the case may be. But you have to understand that life just simply is not fair like that. And sometimes networking and connections and who you know is gonna trump the person who may be more experienced and qualified for you, but that's just a part of life. And I think the quicker you can realize and understand that, you will have a little bit more peace in your life, because you realize you're working against a system that you can't control. And if you're just one person, you're trying to push. Just think about like trying to push a big boulder up a hill and it's just you. Push. Eventually you're gonna get tired and want to give up. And so don't even do it to yourself. I think the mental shift is you have to see things for what they are, understand that it's not fair, but then not allow it to affect you mentally because it's outside of your control. This is where you have to put your full trust and hope in God and say, okay, God, you are just God. You're going to make things happen in the season and in the manner they're supposed to happen. And I take my hands off of it. I can't control it, so I'm not gonna even try to. So that's another way where life can be unfair. It's just, the favoritism and the connections and the opportunities that are given to people just simply based off of who they know, and you don't have no control over that. So don't let it control you. And then other ways that life show up as being unfair is in the other isms, right? All of the injustice that we see in society. You got racism, you got sexism, you got classism, elitism, texturism. All of these isms create barriers that people didn't choose for themselves. And so one would say, that's unfair, right? If I'm being judged based off of something that I can't control, based off of a part of my identity that I had zero input when God created me, how is it fair that I'm judged in that manner when I have no control over it? But again, That's the world we live in. And unfair things are gonna happen to you, but you just have to see it for what it is and be the change that you wanna see. You gotta be the person to step up and say, okay, how can I lend my voice, my actions, my efforts to be able to push against these agendas or against these injustices or against this unfairness, right? But don't let it consume you, because it will destroy you. Another way unfairness shows up is in unequal opportunity. So that could be where you live. What school did you go to? Like, where did you grow up? All of those things shape your future, your reality. And I was talking to my husband the other day, and he heard me listening to a podcast or something, and he was like, man, you're gonna be a forever learner to eternity. And he made a comment, and he was like, man, if you would have went to certain school districts, you probably would have been a national scholar. You probably would have been a lot further advanced in your academic, career than where you are, right? Eventually, I came to be exactly where I'm supposed to be, right? And this is the journey and the life that God has given me, and I'm so grateful for the journey to get here. But basically, what he was saying was that if I had a fair chance and shot at opportunity in some of the districts and the schools that are a little bit more well-resourced, then the outcome of my future would have been different. But that's part of unfairness. Unfairness can sometimes breed something better later in life if you don't allow it to get you down, and instead look at it as try to find the positive in everything. Like, when unfairness is done to you, when life is not fair to you, you can't always be woe is me. You have to figure out a way, okay, how can I make my life better? How can I take control of this situation and create a better future for myself? Because no matter how long you live, every day you wake up, there's gonna be something that's gonna be unfair about something that's happening to you. And you have to figure out a way to say, I'm not gonna be a victim to this, I'm gonna be in control of this. And then also, sometimes there's timing, right? Unfairness and timing. You may feel like you're ready for something, you prepare for something, and you just know that this opportunity should be yours. But the door doesn't open, in that moment when you want it to. It could be due to a lot of different things. You know what? When I think about my own journey in my own life, I'm an entrepreneur. I have done, I'm just gonna use an example, pitch competitions, right? I've done pitch competitions, and I've judged pitch competitions. One thing I've noticed about pitch competitions, right? Pitch competitions are fair. I would like to say that they are fair in the way that you judge, right? But there's always going to be some biases that present itself that doesn't feel fair. And what I mean by that is that if you have somebody judging a company and that company relates to them, they can really see themselves in that company, the company offers a solution that solves a problem, and they can really see, then their bias is gonna make them more favorable towards their particular company. And if you have a great company over here, it doesn't mean that your company isn't great. It doesn't mean that you're doing great things. And so you may look at this and say, oh, they missed the mark, or they haven't, made it as far as I have, or they don't have this much traction. And so you may see that as unfair, but you have to realize that, even in life, biases shape our realities too. Biases shape the fairness and the unfairness. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad when biases are not in a negative, right? It's positive bias and negative bias. What I'm talking about here is positive bias, right? But positive bias can still lead to you feeling like some things are unfair. And so unfairness is all around you. I use it as an example just to show. You have to determine and decide how are you going to allow it to affect your life. Again, take back your power and take back your control and your thoughts and how you think, and not allow things that are outside of your control to affect you negatively in a drastic way. Now I want to talk about what are some ways that you can trust God when life feels unfair. Be honest with him. You don't gotta fake your strength. You ain't gotta try to make it like, oh, it's not bothering you. David cried out and asked God, how long, Lord? How long? Job asked him, why me? That's a question many of us have. Why me? And Jesus even said, my God, why have you forsaken me? Honesty is not a lack of faith. It is the foundation of trust. And so you have to be honest with God and say, God, this situation right now feels so unfair. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. I don't know how to process this. This is how I'm feeling. Give your feelings to him And just be honest. That's the way that you handle life when life is unfair, because many times you will see that when you just give it to him, that heaviness that you was feeling is lifted because you put your cares on him, and you're not trying to worry about how you're going to figure out. You're not trying to figure out, or you're not trying to basically say, let me take this matter in my own hands and make this fair for me, because that's just going to stress you out even more. So you have to just be honest with him, lay it all out on the table, lay it all out. He want to hear your thoughts. He wants to know, what's bothering you. Just be honest with him, because honesty is not the lack of faith. It is the foundation of trust. Next, you got to remember God's character. Not just your circumstances, you have to remember God's character. Circumstances change, but God's nature does not, because he is still loving, he's still faithful, he's still in control. Even when life feels out of control and unfair, he's still in control, because his thoughts are not our thoughts, nor his ways are our ways. So just because you don't understand what's going on in this season or why things happen the way they do, God knows. He sees all. He knows all. Just because you don't understand it doesn't mean that God is not working. So you have to remember his character. He is a just God. God is just even when life is not. That means he is fair even when life is not, because he's not a respecter of a person. And so even when things look like they're going on over here, they're going left, he is always, always, always working out things for your good. You have to believe that and know that even in the midst, because that's the hope and the faith that's going to keep you going when life feels unfair and when it feels like it's tearing you down. Instead of being paralyzed about all the unfairness and all the things that are happening around you, just simply trust God to show you your next step. Lean on him and all of his promises. Trust in God with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, and just trust and rest in his presence that he's going to work out things in the manner that he knows to be true for you, because he can see your future. Now, this one right here, this is something that has really helped me throughout life's journeys when I felt like things were unfair, is looking for God's presence in the midst of the pain. Sometimes unfair seasons are going to lead you to discover your strength, to discover your peace, to discover your path and the purpose and the plan that he has for you. Because think about it, if life was fair, you wouldn't really experience the emotions needed to pull you up out the trenches, to pull you up out that valley. Sometimes you got to go through some trials and tribulations and some unfairness in life to be brought into your purpose. And I find that to be the case for me. Like, many times I've been in a situation where I, felt like something wasn't fair, and I wallow in it for a moment, and I'm replaying situations in my head. Well, how could I have done this better? Where did I fall short? All of those things. When you do that, you start turning to self-criticizing, right? You start to doubting yourself. That's what the enemy wants you to do, but it has nothing to do with you. Remember, we're talking these external. So when external unfairness happens, don't pull it back into you and put the blame on you. Life is just simply unfair in that manner. And so what that's really meant to teaching you is to teach you how to persevere. It's giving you grit. It's building your strength. When I tell you, beauty for your ashes, you're going to rise up like a phoenix after these situations. Trust me, I know. I'm telling you, some of my greatest confidence, some of my greatest progress, some of the greatest, all the good things that has happened in my life has happened as a result of some sort of rejection that was done in the name of being unfair. And even though I couldn't see it in that moment, even though I was hurt in that moment, it worked for my good. It was in his plan. That was part of God's greater plan to get me to the levels that he needed to get me on. So whenever life is unfair to you, try to just look at it in that way. Like, look for God's presence in that pain. Look for, God, what are you trying to teach me? How are you trying to stretch me? How are you trying to grow, evolve me? What are you setting me up for, right? If you're called to be a leader, many times you have to go through unfair things in life so that you can know how to lead. You have to be able to develop that empathy and that compassion so that you can know how people feel. Because when you can lead from those things, that's how you can take people, out and take them to the promised land. It's because you understand. And so next time something unfair happens to you, I don't want you to wallow in it for too long. Feel how you feel, process it, and then say, God, I thank you. I thank you because something good is gonna come from this. I always look for his presence in the pain. And then lastly, I wanna say this. This is kind of piggybacking off of that, but what is the bigger picture? Right? Look at the bigger picture because the things that feel unfair now may be a setup for something greater later. When you think about Joseph, Joseph was betrayed by his own people. He was enslaved, he was imprisoned. His life was completely unfair, but God used his life for so much good. And that's the bigger picture of things when you see it at the end. You can't see it in the beginning because when you're in that pit, isolated, lonely, and feeling forgotten, I mean, it can be hard to see the bigger picture because you haven't seen the end yet. But if you start with the bigger picture in mind and know that this moment is producing something that I can't see yet that is part of my legacy, part of the bigger picture, it helps you to stay grounded while you're in it. And so when life feels unfair, force yourself to see the bigger picture. Know that something bigger is at play and that the reason why you're going through the seasons and the things you're going through is literally for a reason, and that God is not going to allow you to go through something that's going to take you out. You have to trust. This is when you really just have to trust and believe that his plan for your life is true and that it's legit. He knows the plans that he has for your life, plans to prosper you and not harm you. So you have to fully immerse in that and believe it. So I don't know what feels unfair in your life right now, but I do know this. God sees you. God hears you. God has not forgotten about you. Trusting him does not mean that you won't ever have questions. It just means that you are holding on to his hand while you walk through all the unfairness and all the things of this life. So here's a simple challenge for you. Every time you feel that life feels unfair, this week I want you to say this, pray this. God, I don't understand this, but I choose to trust you anyway. Let me know in the comments, what is one area of your life right now where you are choosing to trust God, even when it doesn't make sense? I am going to be praying with you as we walk through this faith journey together. Life be lifing, but our God is greater, okay? Keep the faith, bet on you because God already did.